What's going on, guys? Today we talk about a fragrance from the house of Paco Rabanne. It's a 1 million, but I don't think it's one you guys have put your nose to. So strap up and let's go for a ride.
Okay, doing it for two. I watch that head move side to side as I let this in into the room. You are on top, let's connect minds. Trying to get into a mood. We gon' be fine. Close up the blinds, no rush. Finish the food.
All right. I'm SB. Welcome to the Scent Bubble. I'm your host for the afternoon. Okay. I don't think there's much story time with this fragrance, so we're just going to get straight to it. This is 1 million Golden Oud from Paco Rabanne. And before we get into this and the scientist gets to work, cooking up and analyzing this fragrance, I want to give a nice shout out to my boy Scott. He's a subscriber on the channel. He sent this to me, and I am very grateful for it because I haven't put my nose to it, and I know it takes time and energy to make these. And so he sent me quite a few scents. We're going to keep shouting them out with whatever fragrances I've reviewed from him. And again, for those of you who are new out there, if you ever want me to smell a fragrance, I have a private mailbox that you can send to, that you can find in the description. If you're interested on my take on something and you haven't seen me review it on the channel, which is rare, but out of 700 reviews I've done so far, there are thousands of fragrances out there. So if you want to see my take on something, go ahead and send it on over. You'll get a shout out. Okay. 1 million Golden Oud from Paco Rabanne. Let's give this an initial thoughts, and then we will break it down. Oh, it smells good in the air. I'll let that sit for half a second. I hope y'all are doing well out there. I've been having a great time. Finally just got off of some vacation time. Took some time off. I've taken a few vacations, as you guys are starting to see on my channel, but I never talk about them. And a lot of times I have like 30 and 40 episodes already loaded up in the queue of my YouTube channel. So by the time you see that I went on vacation, it's normally a month later already, which is kind of funny. That's why I try to keep you guys live updated through my community page, because I work so hard on this channel that I like to be way ahead of schedule. These days, I find myself trying to make enough content to always be a month ahead of you guys. That way, every day you guys have an episode to look at, and I don't rush them. So that's another thing you can trust and believe, that just because I drop an episode every day does not mean I'm standing around here trying to do speed reviews. I'm active in these fragrance streets. I'm always in the retail stores. I'm always online. I'm always decanting. I've got a great community of individuals. I'm doing research, and I'm just active. So I have a lot to talk about. So my channel is an outflow of a life that I'm really living in fragrance. So I hope you guys can benefit from it. Initial impressions from Royal Oud: extremely woody, but not woody like you're typically used to. This has a funk to it, like it's a mix of a couple things. It's like a very fresh oud, but it's funked out by like what feels like a couple of elements. I'm just wild guessing here. Maybe some light incense, maybe some spices, light spices, maybe some leather. I mean, it's oddly like somewhat ozonic, but it's got that dark, dense oud wood, not oud wood, the Tom Ford fragrance, but oud and wood. I mean, oud is an infection on wood, from the agarwood tree. So it's woody and oudy. It's the infection of the tree and the tree. But it's dense. There's this weird freshness kind of running through it. Like, it's really weird. It's like a dark, woody oud type of fragrance with both this parallel line running through it of like this elegance that I'm drawn to, but then also this incensey, ancient, dark spin through it. Like it's a gust of elegance and freshness contrasted by this dark, musky or musty, oudy, incensey, spiced type of feel. It's almost like if you had a bunch of beautiful smelling like resins and stuff like frankincense and myrrh and elemi and all that, like trapped in a cave, and there's an incense lit in the back of it, and you're standing outside the cave and you're just catching wafts of like this dark mist of just slight incense and resins and like this fog funk coming out of the cave, you know, because it's conjuring up all of this. That's the feel that I get. But then there's this weird, like, kind of alluring, ambery, slightly sweet, slightly resinous, slightly fresh gust through it. It's really interesting. Let's go ahead and, sorry about the transition screen there. Okay, let's go ahead and break this fragrance down. What kind of votes did it get? Almost a 4.2 out of 5, but only 371 votes. So clearly people don't have this fragrance. 1 Million Golden Oud was launched in 2023. Okay. Extremely powerful and intense. The 1 Million Golden Oud, a fragrance as precious as gold and rich with the most luxurious perfume ingredients. The brilliant emerald gem sparkles brilliantly to echo the gem of royalty. Okay, so they're talking about the bottle here. And an intense amber expression of absolute elegance for men. Okay. Top notes, we have saffron, nutmeg, black pepper, and bergamot. Middle notes, we have patchouli, gurgeon, balsam, so it's balsamic. So for those of you who don't know, I like to pull this up. This is like an ad or something. Resins and balsams, okay? So it could be related to trees, saps, you know. Fresh, woody, and spicy is the odor profile. Okay, let's go back. And sandalwood. So maybe sandalwood is kind of this sandalwood saffron nutmeg vibe, is that lingering, like alluring parallel. And then it's just like sitting in the middle of this cigar wrapness of this spiced pepper, this balsamic, patchouli, oudy, leathery type of scenario here. So I think I was accurate. I didn't know what the notes were. This isn't a fragrance where you can make out anything outside of the wood and the oud initially, because it's very heavy. But that saffron and sandalwood is quite a saving grace to a note profile like this, because it's not monstrous. It's somewhere between moderate and monstrous in terms of the projection, and I imagine with the longevity. Let's see what we're looking at for longevity here. It says it's very long lasting. Okay. So let's zoom back out for a second, guys. Okay. So I like it. I'm going to be honest with you though, impulsively, my nose doesn't immediately tell me that I would wear this. Some fragrances you smell and you're like, this is a fragrance. And then other stuff, your nose just starts thinking about, like trying to identify what it is to relate to it or connect to it in some way. And that's my initial impression, is I don't even think about wearing this at first. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And I imagine most people would experience that as well. I will say, by the time you get to the dry down of this fragrance, it's a whole different experience. It's a lot smoother. It's less abrasive. And the elegance kind of comes out. The amber, the saffron, the slight sweetness. For the sake of this review, I'm going to actually put it on skin, because I want to see what it does. A fragrance like this, you never know how it'll sit. And since I kind of like it more on the dry down on the test strip, I'm very curious as to what it would do on my skin. This kind of reminds me of, I want to say if it's Philosophia from day 3, it kind of has that similar vibe where it's kind of juxtaposing these ideas. Another fragrance that it reminds me of, again, not necessarily scent profile, but totally vibe and totally like this idea of contrasting note profiles. I think it's from a house called Born to Stand Out, and it's called Sinful Pleasure or Sin and Pleasure. It's kind of got this oudy rock to it, but then this like fresh kind of sweet thing going on with it. Really cool fragrance. So it's a privilege to smell something like this. They certainly captured the royalty and the elegance, but my question is like, the royalty, where is it from? This feels like Indian royalty, you know, something United, Dubai maybe. But there is a freshness to it, and I think with intense stuff like that, adding freshness makes it more commercially viable to Americans. Because your average American isn't somebody who lights incense, smokes cigars, familiar with oud, familiar with animalics. We don't deal with animalics. The closest thing to animalic here in the States is like people with Louis Vuitton and, snake skin and gator skin, but none of those products smell animalic. Italian leather is probably the closest thing to smelling animalic, and they bleach and piss the heck on that stuff as far as with odor and profiles to try and get the animalics out of that stuff. When you're wearing a nice pair of leather boots, it does smell a certain way, but it smells nothing like oud and nothing like animalics and nothing like incense. Man, this dries down very nice. The vibe I get is almost like a tobacco oud Tom Ford feel. The myrrh fragrance from Tom Ford. Again, Sin and Pleasure from Born to Stand Out. Born to Stand Out is a house. Check them out. They're very cool. Mature scent, but I don't think it's 40 and up. I actually think this is like 30 and up comfortably, or a young man who's 25 and up who appreciates the finer things in life. Like, I'll never forget my brother, one of my brothers, when we were in college, he had a hobby of going out on the border of Mexico, close to the border, because we were in Arizona and we were going to school at the University of Arizona. And he used to go out on the weekends and collect agave and like different woods. And he used to carve them out and make didgeridoos. And when he'd make them, he would hollow them out. He would sand them. He would put a polished finish on it, like a resin or epoxy. Epoxy's a resin, I'm pretty sure. And then he would paint them. He would hand paint them. And at some point, he had like 10 to 20 didgeridoos in his. We lived in a college apartment complex. And every day I would come home from school and hear a saw or some type of machinery. Vroom, 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 vroom. And he would be making instruments. He was just an odd guy compared to like your average college kid. And he used to have, old like dark liquors and stuff, kind of with some Scotch glasses that were really elegant in his place. And he just appreciated the finer things in life. He was truly an old soul, even as a 20-year-old going to college. So there are, in the 20 to 30 range, guys, you got to be that type of guy, cut from that cloth to enjoy something like this, like a lot. And you also have to consider where you live. If you're in a place with a lot of hot climate, this would be hard to pull off unless you're indoors. If you're on the East Coast, gets cold a lot, this would make a lot of sense as a signature scent. It's elegant, and surprisingly, it feels Tom Fordish. It feels like a fragrance Tom Ford should have made. This is awesome in the 1 million line, because what do you think of with 1 million? You think of kind of Spice Bomb Extreme, Noir Extreme kind of feel, right? Spices, vanilla, ramped up projection, monstrous spices and vanillas type of fragrances. But this is not like that, but it still has the mood of a dark spiced environment. But when you go to oud and woodiness and smokiness, now you're going with family of type of scent where vibe check is still in the arena of, but now you're appealing to a much older crowd. Because, traditionally the 1 millions are like 30-year-olds and down, and it's really popular with high schoolers and 20-year-olds. So this is cool. Like, I really appreciate this. I'm going to give a scent like this like a 9. I mean, I ain't even going to hold you. Like, for mature men or ambitious young men, this is like a 9. I mean, this is totally signature. I think it's just not wowing me in terms of dimension. There's enough layer to it to feel like it's got above average complexity. But when I'm giving something a 10, like, it's really got to go. Like, it's got to wow me. And this doesn't necessarily wow me. Like, my initial impression is that it confuses me and I got to understand it and wait for the dry down. And then when the dry down hits, I see the beauty for what it is. Highly signature, highly different to the line, elegant. But it's just, as a scent profile, not wowing me. I think it's more so just wowing me because it's nothing like the 1 millions, and it's different, and it's hard to make oud and balsams and resins and stuff feel fresh, you know? And I don't feel like there's just not enough layer to it. It's not robust enough. But again, a 9 out of 10 is an incredible score. I'm wowed enough, you know. It's above average. It's just not in the 10 club, and that's okay. Blind buy worthy? Absolutely not, even to a mature man, because you have to be into this. But I think if you've ever wanted a oud fragrance or a resinous fragrance, dry woody fragrance, elegant, mature, kind of myrrhish and frankincense type of fragrance, this is entry level niche. Like, it's so wearable, I think, in the right climate. It's a cold weather scent. I feel like 4 to 5 sprays is totally going to get you past the 8-hour mark. Occasions, I mean, honestly, if you're just in cold weather, rock out with this. This is a unique signature scent. Again, it screams elegance. So theater, ballroom, even restaurant, lounge, maybe even a concert indoors. Shoot, a rainy day, screw it. But it's cold weather paired, and it screams elegance, and it's in the family of your cigar, dry woods, leather, ouds, spiced feel. But it feels very Tom Fordish. I like the way Tom Ford approaches this category of fragrance because he always makes it modern and super commercial and wearable. And that's what I think they did here. They didn't pimp themselves out, though. I think it's true to form when it comes to balsams and resins and woods and ouds and things like that. So yeah, I just think it's very nice. Don't get intimidated by me saying entry-level niche in this category. That's actually a compliment. You know, a fragrance like a Amouage in this category, this would beat that because you don't have to think about it as long. Very good fragrance, 9 out of 10. I think, again, we talked about the age range and all that stuff. I think this is an excellent fragrance for the line. Great curveball to the line, but it makes total sense, but it is not just a flanker or a copied rendition of any of the 1 millions I've ever smelled. You know, it's not going to smell like Lucky or Elixir or Parfum or just any of them. It's its own thing. It's kind of like a more elegant, masculine, older take on something like a Noir Extreme Parfum from Tom Ford. You know, the gold bottle, which ironically this has a gold bottle as well. But yeah, very well done. Very well done. I think many people who like stuff like this might even give it a 10. For me and my taste and all the scents I've smelled in this category, I can comfortably give it a great 9. And I don't do decimals, you know, because then it confuses you. Like, what do you mean? Like 9.6? Like, what does that even mean? So I can comfortably give it a strong 9. And it's a great fragrance. Again, from the House of 1 Million, this was 1 Million Golden Oud from Paco Rabanne. And it is a sexy fragrance. Now, like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. We drop episodes every single day. I'm active on everything on YouTube, man. Community posts, live Q&A, long form review, short form review, hot takes, game shows. If you're into fragrance, this is where you want to be. I post just as much as a guy like Gent Sense. You know what I'm saying? I run this channel like a Gent Sense in terms of quantity of reviews. But I like to dig deeper and give you guys quality content of all kinds so you can enjoy your world of fragrance just like I'm enjoying mine. Again, I hope you guys have a blessed week. And until next time, peace.